The case, also known as mechanics, protects the central components of the computer from external influences. It includes the power supply, as well as the motherboard, processor, memory, mass storage devices, and peripherals that fit directly on the motherboard. Outside the case, most of the peripherals connected to the computer are located: keyboard, mouse, monitor, printer, etc. Usually, the switch button and the reset button are located on the front of the casing. The power button can be used to turn the power supply that operates the computer on and off. The reset button can be used to restart the computer. It sends the pulse signal to the motherboard, not to the power supply. Older casings also have a turbo button that allows you to set the processor clock to minimum or maximum so you can run older programs at the right speed. Newer motherboards do not use a turbocharger sensor, as you can slow down your computer through software. There are also various indicators on the front panel that indicate that the computer is operating. Power LED indicates the power on status, and the HDD LED indicates that the hard disk is reading/writing data. Some casings also have a dial that shows the processor clock, operating speed, in megahertz. In terms of location, there are two types of cases: landscape and portrait. The reclining case is placed on the table, and the monitor is usually placed on it. The standing case is placed under or next to the table. There are three different sizes of cases: mini, midi, and big case. The mini casing has the smallest, 4, up to 5 mass storage slots, usually two 5.25-inch and 2 or 3 3.5-inch slots. The 5.25-inch slot is actually 5.8-inch wide, and the 3.5-inch is 3.9-inch, but the disk widths of hard disk and magnetic disk drives that can be inserted into these slots are 5.25-inch and 3.5-inch, so it is common to name the slots according to these sizes. They are also available in portrait and landscape versions. The MIDI casing is slightly larger, with 5 or 6 storage slots, usually 3 of 5.25-inch and 2 or 3 of 3.5-inch. This is a medium size for standing cases and the largest for lying cases. The large case is only made in a standing design, large tower. It can hold at least 8 to 9 mass storage devices, 5 to 6 pieces of 5.25-inch, and 3 pieces of 3.5-inch. The larger the case, the more space it takes, but the more hardware it can hold and the more ventilation it has. Many times the devices in the case are cooled by separate fans. The power supply provides power to the computer and converts AC power to the DC power required to operate the computer. It produces 5 volts and -5 volts and 12 volts and -12 volts from 110 or 220 volts AC. Its performance is generally in line with the size of the case. The big tower is approx. 220 to 300 watts into the MIDI casing and the mini casing approx. They make a 180 to 250 watts power supply. In the past, the power supply only supplied power to the motherboard and mass storage devices, and the switch was located on the back of the power supply. The newer ones also allow the monitor to draw power, and the switch is no longer on the power supply but is wired to the front of the case. For mass storage, the power supply has a fan that cools high-performance components. The power supply has multiple output connectors. One is connected to the motherboard, the others to mass storage and other devices. It also has a smaller connector that provides power to the 3.5-inch floppy disk drive. There are two types of casings, the standard AT and the standardized ATX. The casing types determine the type of motherboard that can be installed in them. The AT and ATX power supplies have different connectors. The AT casings are equipped with a standard switch that can be used to turn the power supply on and off. The power supply of the newer ATX casings has a pulse switch. The switching on and off is done with the pulse switch via the motherboard, so we can even turn off the computer in software. The ATX casings has a standardized structure that secures the system board screws in place. The terminals on the back of the casings correspond to the ATX motherboard. PCs are also portable, built with most of their peripherals, commonly referred to as laptops, notebooks, and palmtops. Laptops are the largest of the laptops, usually with internal slots. Notebooks are small but at most have only external slots. Palmtops are the smallest, barely larger than a calculator, but small in capacity and have no slot. All laptops are powered by a battery. With an uninterruptible power supply of various powers, approximately 300 to 800 watts, using the battery in it, we can provide power to the computer's power supply for a few minutes in the event of a power failure. Interior and exterior design of the case. Side view, inside, and front view, outside, of the case.